On this episode of Runners, I connect with talented artist, painter, trailblazer, creator, and founder of Women and Weapons, Sara Baumann, ultra amazing human being and leader of movements. Lace up with us. Let's go for a run.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a half is the most I've done, but I want to do a full at some point. But
oh my God. May the odds be ever in your favor.
It's serious. All right, on this episode of Runners, I have creator, founder, artist, trailblazer of Women and Weapons, Sara Baumann.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Did I say your last name right?
Baumann, yeah.
Baumann,
yeah.
okay.
I pretty much respond to anything that starts with a B nowadays.
That's cool, that's cool. All right, we got our run out of the way. How did it feel to you?
I'm not a runner, naturally, but it was good. I feel like I have more energy and I got to take my jacket off, so I'm not mad.
There you go. Got the blood flowing?
Got the blood flowing.
Yeah.
I feel like my brain is like at optimal level now.
There you go. All right, so outside of running, you mentioned being a gymnast.
Yes.
Right? What do you do for release therapy, also outside of art? We'll get to the art.
Outside of art,
Yeah.
man, I think probably one of the biggest things for just like kind of like zenning myself out is going for walks either with Jake or with my mom. We like to go for really long walks actually, which is funny that I suck at running. But just being outside is very like zen for me.
Gotcha. Do y'all do like because I know like in other countries, people do like the family walks after dinner.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
especially in Germany. That was actually something my husband learned when he was taking German classes, yeah.
If you think, that's a healthy way of walking off your food.
Yeah.
So
No,
makes
that's
perfect sense.
I know for my family, that's always been a thing. Like after Thanksgiving dinner or after Christmas dinner or whatever it is, we always go for a walk afterwards.
Gotcha.
I swear I feel like 10 times better if I do that instead of just go sit on the sofa.
There you go. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
For sure. So before, jumping into Women and Weapons, which we'll get into you kind of explaining what that is and, your passion behind that, you were in the healthcare field.
Yeah.
What brought you to the healthcare field?
Well, I have like two kind of halves of my brain where one side really enjoys science and helping people. And then the other side, of course, really is so passionate about art. And, my mom's an immigrant to this country from Iran. And so pretty much my whole family in Iran are all in the artist fields.
Super cool.
But my mom being here and of course, kind of seeing what the American dream is and really wanting to make sure her daughter has security really kind of pushed me like, go to a super sustainable field.
Got it.
And so she was like, you need to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer.
Right.
And I was like, okay, Mom, doctor sounds like a lot of responsibility.
Right. A lot of schooling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A happy medium sounds like occupational therapy.
Right.
And so that's what I decided to go with.
Super cool.
And I did it for about 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. The reason I was like super excited to get you on, because you meet at the perfect intersection of what this show like stands for, Runners. You have a master's in science and healthcare, but then you're also like a super dope artist, which is like, what this show is kind of about.
Thank you.
So you have a job at the time, right, with occupational therapy.
Yep.
But you've always had the passion in art.
Yes.
Talk to me about the transition from, going from occupational therapy to full-time career in art.
Yeah, so pretty much the entire time I was getting my master's degree and working as an occupational therapist, I was working part-time as an artist.
Okay.
Doing a lot of commission work, creating my own paintings and selling them.
Got it.
Always hoping that it would take off into a full-time opportunity.
Okay.
And I've also been always one to follow my gut. So in 2021, this is like kind of at the tail end of the pandemic, my husband was like, hey, I'm kind of paying attention to this NFT world, this Web3 world. It's really interesting. It's such a, great opportunity for especially artists because there's royalties in perpetuity and it's kind of a new frontier where you get this global audience. I really think you should pay attention to it.
Got it.
So I was like, okay. So I started doing my research, jumping into Discords, getting to know the community. And I was like, wow, like this is really cool. People are super supportive of one another. And, I think for any avenue, whenever you're the first to a frontier, you oftentimes have the most opportunities. You just have to have that open mind of trying something new. And so we minted, which basically means like putting on the blockchain,
Okay.
10 of my art pieces that were painted with gouache. They were my original Women and Weapons collection.
Got it. So collection 1.
Collection 1, yeah,
Okay, got
exactly. And Gary Vaynerchuk, who's this incredible businessman and speaker and entrepreneur,
Yeah.
he actually was the first person to buy my artwork.
Gary V.
Yeah, Gary V. And that's kind of when things just like lit on fire and took off. And I think that's when I was like, okay, like, let's go. And so I started designing all the different elements for a 10,000 piece collection.
Okay.
Right? And so, you know, for me, Women and Weapons is very much like a women's empowerment type of thing. It's a, you know, I with artwork, I like to kind of elicit an emotion.
Got it.
In association with it. And I think, you know, people oftentimes don't necessarily get that negative connotation from James Bond with a gun, but then they get this kind of negative connotation from the term Women and Weapons.
Right.
So I like to ask people why.
Got it.
And so that was a big part of kind of the collection in addition to celebrating this mid-century woman that was often not perceived as being powerful.
Got it. Super cool.
Yeah, we just kind of went from there. It just took off.
Took off.
Yeah.
Caught on fire. I'll take you back a couple years, right? When is this, 2022 when this happens?
This is 2021, end
Okay,
of 2021.
so,
Yeah.
okay, end of 2021. So regular work day, you're at work.
Yeah.
Right? And then your notifications are going nuts on your phone.
Bananas in
Yeah,
a
on
patient room.
Okay, in a patient
Yeah.
room. All right, and then Jake tells you, hey, Gary V bought 3 of your pieces.
Yeah, it was a Saturday. I was working in the hospital.
Got it.
Get all these notifications on my phone, run downstairs to the office, and I'm thinking Jake can probably give me the TLDR faster than I can scrolling through Twitter.
Right.
At the time, Twitter, not X.
Not X. Yeah.
And Jake's like, Sarah, Gary V bought 3 of your pieces, and the rest of them just flew off the shelf. And I remember being in the office with a bunch of the physical therapists and a couple additional occupational therapists, and I just like melted out of the chair.
As
and
you should.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it was real. And I told Jake, I said, can I quit? And he said, no. I was like,
Not
okay,
yet.
got it.
Hold.
Yeah, hold. But, you know, we really started working heavily on that 10,000 piece collection. And it was like me working every day in the hospital, coming home, drawing for an additional 5 to 6 hours to get all of those illustrations completed. And then we minted the collection in October. So the sales, I think, were like in August of 2021.
Okay.
The original 10-piece sales, and then the 10,000 piece collection sold out in October in like 4 hours, basically.
Got it.
And Jake gets on to me all the time because I tend to be underreactive.
Okay.
So like they sold out, and he's freaking out, he's crying, he's jumping up and down, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
This happened.
This happened, and it wasn't until like maybe 10, 15 minutes later that like I started bawling because I was like, I cannot believe that this is something that we accomplished.
We're talking Gary V, master marketer, motivational speaker, just, I mean,
all around good human.
Yeah, exactly. All around good human, one of the biggest influences in the world.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, big time. And I actually continued working in the hospital, let's see, October, November, December, January, 4 additional months after that sellout.
Okay.
Heavily, one, because I didn't want to leave my team, because again, this was like kind of at the tail end of COVID, and it was already, you know, overwhelming in the hospital system, but
you
know,
felt needed.
I felt needed. Like people were starting to like leave healthcare, like as we're kind of seeing heavily now.
Got it.
And also my mom was like, Sarah, you better not leave your job. It's a stable job.
Right.
I don't know about this. And then I think come January, she was like, okay, like.
Yeah, I kind of see it working out.
I kind of see this working, okay. And so she kind of gave me the green light. And so I was like, all right.
Got it.
Artist and founder it is.
There you go.
And so we just started running with it.
There you go. I think one of the coolest pieces there is you were ready for success, because when Gary V bought those pieces, you kind of were already kind of baking this 10,000 piece collection.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge, because there's a lot of times where people kind of get those moments that strike, but then they're not ready for to kind of follow through or not already working on something.
Which I feel happens kind of more often than not, honestly.
Right, for sure. So yeah, pretty cool that you got to, you know, just strike while the iron was hot and kind of push Women and Weapons. 3 women that inspire you, and it doesn't have to be in the NFT space.
My mom's a really strong, tough, independent woman. She's, I think, somebody that I always looked up to and wanted to emulate. Lisa Bilyeu, she's a friend of mine. She lives in LA.
Okay.
She's married to Tom Bilyeu, and the two of them founded Quest Nutrition.
Got it.
And she's another just brilliant, strong, doesn't give a flip about what other people think about her type of woman, another woman I really want to emulate. I think the third is probably one of my best friends. Her name's Amber Vittoria, and she's just, like, she's so unapologetically herself and so proud of, like, so proud of her art pieces. She never has shame about herself or her artwork, and I'm constantly, like, amazed and flabbergasted by it. You know, there's so many different traits in these 3 women that I think I'm constantly trying to instill within myself, because they make me proud of them, and I'm impressed by their strength, and I too want to emulate that strength.
As far as women and weapons, you mentioned, hey, you know, when you see a male with a weapon or whatever it is, it's not seen as, you know,
upsetting.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For me, I mean, when I hear women and weapons, automatically I think empowerment, badass, right? So super cool. Now I wanted to ask, so for your main pieces, who are they kind of designed behind?
I think they're heavily designed behind just these women of this mid-century era during specifically World War II, when a lot of the men went off into war and the women stayed behind. They worked in the factories, and they kind of kept things propped up, but also a lot of women really found their independence in that time. And then, you know, it's actually funny because during that period as well, while these women were working in these factories and what have you, productivity improved, quality of product improved.
Right.
These women found their strength, they found their independence, and I found that so, like, empowering and liberating, and I really wanted to kind of personify it in these artworks while making it something that's meaningful to other people as well.
Makes sense.
You know, these weapons can be the symbols of your weapons that you carry into your everyday. They can be something that reminds you of somebody that you love. It could be something that you just look at and it empowers you. And so that's really kind of where a lot of the inspirations, I think, were taken from.
Got it. And then also I think it's super cool that you're able to do this with your husband, your partner, your best friend, kind of building that business together. Talk to me about, like, how does that support system, like, connect? How does that feel to you?
Yeah, I mean, I will say not every couple is cut out to work together.
Right.
I think Jake and I happen to be cut out kind of like a puzzle piece.
Got it.
Where anywhere that I have a pitfall, he has a strength.
Okay.
And vice versa. You know, he and I don't know if you know this, but he and I have been together for about 20 years now. We've been together since we were 12 years old. And
really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And like I said, you know, any of my pitfalls are his strengths, and we really love to bounce ideas off of one another.
Got it.
And it just, I think it strengthens both of us. And I think if anything else, like, it really brought us even closer together because we're constantly challenging one another, and we're constantly impressed by one another as well, which I think is so good for a relationship, to be constantly proud of your partner.
Right, absolutely.
So it's worked out. Like, I mean, I couldn't have a better partner, to be honest.
There you go. That's cool to hear. What would your advice be to couples that are, like, younger couples building businesses together?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is to be open-minded, to hear each other out, to not feel like you're right and there's no other way. I think you need to recognize that there's a multitude of avenues, and, you know, your partner may have one avenue and you may have another.
Right.
And maybe it's a good opportunity to try and mesh those two considerations together. But you also really have to give each other a lot of grace and have a lot of respect and trust for one another. I think that's so incredibly important. And if you don't have that, for sure working together isn't going to work.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. And then the connection with Gary Vee, because I know just to circle back a little bit, I know he bought 3 of your pieces, and then he ended up buying more of your pieces, correct?
Yes.
And did you end up going to, like, an event to speak?
Yeah.
That he was connected to?
So I spoke at VCon, which is his Gary Vaynerchuk conference.
Huge.
Yeah, huge. I spoke there in 2022 and in 2023. Maha Abulanin and Gary, they had me come speak alongside them, and Ashley Smith at Brilliant Minds in Sweden.
Okay.
I got to speak at South by Southwest.
Wow, okay.
Because actually public speaking is one of my biggest fears in life.
Okay.
But
For a lot of people.
for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but you know, I made a New Year's resolution like 4 years ago that I would do things that scared me.
Okay.
And ever since I made that resolution, and it's been my New Year's resolution every single year, so many doors have opened up for me.
Right.
But yeah, it's been really, really incredible. I can't believe the opportunities that I've been blessed with, and I'm just so unbelievably grateful to Gary, to all the people who have been there for me and had my back.
There you go.
It's been wild.
I love to obviously, get book recommendations and things like that from you. If you were to say you were going on a NASA trip, on a NASA mission, you only could take one book with you.
Oh man.
What would that be?
I think, honestly, probably one of the books that resonated with me most was Build by Tony Fadell, if you've heard of it.
I have not.
He was originally with the Apple team and then moved into the Nest products.
Okay.
And it's a really interesting book because I think it allows you, especially if you're somebody who's in business or a founder or what have you,
Got it.
allows you to do a lot of reflection on how you're operating as a business person or a founder.
Okay.
And kind of recognize where you've made mistakes and then learn how to course correct those mistakes.
Got it.
I don't know, I felt like it was a really great learning book. Actually, Jake is also listening to a book right now about Elon Musk, and
Okay.
that one has also just been really eye-opening to me about how people who really charge forward and kind of are the crazy ones are
Got it.
oftentimes the people who are the most successful.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think I kind of threw two at you just then. So
No, I like that. I like that. I mean, to me, reading wise, it's weird, but I only read like self-improvement books. Like
that's
I
a
don't
good
read-
thing. Yeah,
I don't
there's
read
nothing wrong
anything
with
else.
that.
And then when it comes to like the NFT space, where do you think it stands like now?
I mean, we've definitely taken a dip, right?
Right.
I think a lot of people know that we're in a quote unquote bear market within like the NFT and the Web3 space at the moment. But, I think we're going to start finding more and more realistic use cases for the technology for blockchain. And I think, things kind of happen naturally. We all kind of went back into our homes and we were all stuck inside. And this is kind of when NFTs and these digital communities took off. It was
Yep.
a natural development. And I think now we're seeing a lot of AI coming to fruition.
Yes.
And a lot of like deep fakes and what have you. And I think this is kind of a natural progression for the utilization of blockchain technology for authentication of things.
Got it.
And I know for me as an artist, the blockchain is a great opportunity for me to always have that authentication of my artwork, but also to kind of have a string attached to anybody who's collecting my artwork to see
Got it.
where it goes, when it exchanges hands, what's it worth.
Right.
And also the advent of being able to track your digital artwork as well, because
Right.
that's something that we're seeing come more and more to the surface as opposed to just physical pieces.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think just the value statement with NFTs and being able to track that digital footprint is huge, especially coming out of a Hollywood strike and things like that,
Yeah.
or just when it comes to artists not getting, what they're due.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate, that path that NFT takes. And when it comes to building those communities, like 2021 or 2020, I loved how that community just kind of gelled together.
Yes.
And then the other piece of that is also, I know it's taking a dip, but it's the long game. Like, are we
It is the
playing the
long
long game or are we playing the short game? So I think long game wise, it is gonna mature to what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Talk to me about that fear of public speaking. Like, obviously I know preparation is a key thing in public speaking, but how did you personally tackle it?
I'm still not overcome. I
Okay,
still
got
have
it.
not overcome it. You can ask my husband. I have a panic attack for like days in advance
Right,
before
right.
any public speaking event. But one of the things that I've started doing is asking myself, is it going to kill you? Then I try to just put a mental block in front of it and say, it's not going to kill you, so there's nothing to be stressed about. There's nothing to be worried about. Oftentimes, so much of that anxiety comes from the fear of people's judgment.
Right.
Not focusing so much on people's judgment has been a really good thing, I think, for my brain.
And then also you're there for a reason. I mean, you're bringing value to the room.
Life gets better when you lead with gratitude, and that's kind of an aspect of that, is just being grateful that you've even been asked to be up on that stage.
Got it.
Certainly helps you kind of overcome that fear as well.
For sure. Sara Baumann was known as ... What would you say?
Sara Baumann was known as somebody who wanted to make the world a better place than the world that she entered. If at all possible, if I can leave a positive mark on the world, do good for the planet. You know, one of the things that Jake and I really focused on with Women and Weapons was donating a portion of our primary and our secondary proceeds to the Malala Fund, because I think that education can be a girl's weapon. That was certainly a big mark, I think, that we left on the world, donating over $170,000 to the Malala Fund. When you drop a pebble in water, it makes ripples. And I think that you can drop that pebble of like positivity, gratitude, kindness into the water, and it ripples out to the people who are near you. And you know, I really believe that kindness, that gratitude, that being a good human can make a positive cultural change, and I hope it does.
Absolutely, super cool. And one quote that I actually love from you is, "You're taking the risk by not taking the risk."
Yeah, 100%.
I really like that.
You got to risk it to get the biscuit.
Yeah, there you go.